The focus standards for this lesson fall under the language strand of the Common Core standards, with a specific focus on determining the meaning of a new word formed when a known prefix is added to a known word. For example, adding the prefix "un" to the word happy. Background knowledge for this standard can be found in the modules relating to the Reading Foundational Standard 2.3D, relating to the decoding of words with common prefixes and suffixes. Second grade students are expected to use their knowledge of prefixes to determine the meaning of new words formed when a prefix is added to a known or common word. This module will introduce a lesson that can be used as an intervention when a group of students have not yet mastered the skill. In the article, Teaching and Developing Vocabulary, Key to Long-Term Reading Success, Pekulski and Templeton state that the majority of English words have been created through the combination of morphemic elements, that is, prefixes and suffixes with base words and word roots. If students can understand this process, they will better be able to break a word down to find its meaning. The authors go on to say that the students at the elementary level will start out by learning and mastering basic common prefixes, such as un, mis, and dis. In the intermediate grades and beyond, students will start to encounter new words that simply are built upon morphological derivatives of familiar words. As this knowledge develops, teachers can model how it may be applied to determining the meanings of unfamiliar words encountered in print. As students start to recognize more and more words that have familiar affixes, they will be able to determine the meaning of new words successfully and improve upon their comprehension of what they are reading. The objective of this lesson is to provide students with the opportunity to understand how the meaning of a root word is changed when a prefix is added to it. As Cunningham states in the book, Phonics They Use, Words for Reading and Writing, once a student has learned the 20 most common prefixes in the English language, they can account for 97% of all prefixed words, thus giving them a greater opportunity to broaden their vocabulary knowledge. This lesson assumes that your students have an understanding of how to decode words with affixes and the meaning of many of the most common 20 prefixes in the English language. These prefixes are listed on the previous slide. In order to teach this lesson, you will need the word cards, sentence strips, and recording sheet shown on this slide. You will also need the independent recording sheet shown for when students are reading their own independent books. This sheet can be used as a formative assessment to show you how students are progressing along with the standard. Extra materials needed include the anchor chart from curriculumcorner.com and a sentence strip for the guided practice portion of the lesson. The following lesson is an example of an intervention that you could use for students who need extra support in finding the meaning of prefixed words. You will see the most success with student learning if your small group has less than 4 students. The teacher introduction phase of the lesson should take about 5 minutes. Begin the lesson by stating the purpose. For example, we have learned lots about prefixes and suffixes already. One of the great parts about vocabulary is that the prefixes we have learned about pop up in many different words when we read. Understanding the meaning of these prefixes can help us determine the meaning of words when we encounter them in our books. This will help us comprehend or understand what we are reading. To build interest in the lesson, show students 5 cards that all have the prefix un. Allow students to think, pair, share what they notice in these cards. Give them sufficient time so that everyone has a chance to share with their partner. Ask guiding questions such as, what do you notice? Did you notice anything different than your partner? After discussion, make sure students all understand that the words have the prefix un, which means not. The teacher modeling phase should take around 5 minutes as well. Now that students have an idea of what prefix they are working with, model for them how they can use that prefix to determine the meaning of a word. You might wish to use a whiteboard and different color markers to help differentiate the prefix from the root word. For example, when looking at the word unafraid, it can be broken into the prefix un and the root word afraid. As you are discussing these parts of the word, write them on a whiteboard and label them for students to clearly see. Discuss the meaning of the prefix and root word and how the meaning of the root word changes when the different parts are combined to make a whole word. For the next 10 minutes of this lesson, you will be doing the guided practice phase. This could be longer or shorter in length depending on the needs of your students. Students will have a chance to determine the meaning of a word with a partner. Show them the word card unwilling again. Have students think about the word, pair with a partner, and share what they think the meanings of the prefix, root word, and whole word are. This standard will lead into helping students learn to determine the meaning of unknown words in context. The next portion of the guided practice is to show the students a sentence, help them pick out the prefix word, and define it. You might say something such as, now that we've practiced words in isolation, we are going to practice finding prefixed words in a sentence to determine the meaning. Look at the sentence strip that says, I needed help to disassemble my Lego car. Ask students which is the prefixed word and what it would mean in the context of this sentence. Have the prefix sentence strips cut apart for students to use. With their partner, they will pick a strip, find the prefixed word, and discuss the meaning of each of its parts. On the recording sheet, they will write the prefix, root word, and meaning of the whole word together. This slide is an example of what the student work might look like. Using the independent recording sheet, students can read a book at their own level and document the prefixed words they find, along with their meaning. This can be a great formative assessment for a teacher to use to discover if a child can find a prefixed word and define a prefixed word. There's a formative assessment piece for this standard on Edify. While the lesson only covered a few different prefixes, the formative assessment piece on Edify may cover more. There is also a paper copy available if that better suits the needs for your classroom.